All right. We are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Traveling Owls and G Adventures webinar. My name is Shannon Burnett, and I'm the Assistant Director with Alumni Programs in charge of the Traveling Owls portfolio. I will be here to answer any RICE or Traveling Owls specific questions, but it's my sincerest hope that you take this time to learn from Jill and G Adventures about their trip for the Traveling Owls in 2021. Before I turn it over to her, I did have some Zoom etiquette to go over. We're using the Zoom meeting format. So you're welcome to turn your video off while Jill presents, but then when we have our Q&A, we'd love for you to turn it back on so we can see your face, but that's definitely not a requirement. We do ask that you keep your audio muted when you're not talking so that we can cut out any background noise. Jill is going to give an overview of their program and the 2021 Traveling Owls trip, and then leave time for questions at the end. But if you have any questions that pop up while she's presenting, you're welcome to put those in the chat, and I'll be monitoring that to make sure that we can loop back around and get you those questions answered. Once the presentation is over, though, you're welcome to take your video off of mute and your audio off of mute and just ask those questions in more of a dialogue form. And now I'd like to introduce Jill Sala from G Adventures.
Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, moving all over the place. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome, Traveling Owls. We are so excited to tell you about this amazing trip we have and also a little bit about G Adventures. So I am going the wrong way. This is me. This is myself. I'm the National Account Manager for Affinity Groups at G Adventures, and that's me standing in front of Code Epoxy before we started a 16,000 foot ascent to one of the base camps there. So super exciting stuff. Have not done the Colombia Lost City trekking yet, but I have two colleagues who I work with that have done it. So I think I've got a pretty good idea of what to expect if you do sign up for this trip. I'm just gonna stop my video so you don't look at me and you look at all the pretty pictures. Okay, let's figure out going the right way here. All right, so I really can't tell you where we're going until I tell you where it all started. And it started with this one man named Bruce Poomtip, who was, living in a garage apartment in Toronto, and he really wanted to change the way people traveled. And while he was hiking through the Himalayas on one of his many trips across the globe, he really started to do and find this research about developing nations and how much of that money actually stays in the developing nation when a traveler comes in. And to that destination. He was absolutely horrified by how little of that money actually stays with that destination, with the people. And he really kind of a light bulb went off and decided, you know what, this is time. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start this trip, and wanted to develop tours that really got to the heart of a destination and meet the people that live there. So he set out to create G Adventures, which is the largest sustainable adventure travel company in the world. And when I say sustainable, I mean, going the wrong way again. Come on, sensitive little thing. Sorry about that, guys. Come on. Oh boy. Sorry about that. Not really sure what's happening. Okay. So at G Adventures, we do everything on the sustainable level, meaning we only use locally owned and operated hotels, locally owned and operated restaurants. Essentially, all components of our tour are done locally so that the money coming into the destination actually stays in the destination to benefit the people in the communities that we travel to. So with that being said, welcome to Colombia and the Colombia Lost City trekking, which will be taking place April 23rd through April 29th, 2020. And up in the upper left-hand corner, you see a little ripple score of 100 up there. And on all of our tours that you'll see, will include a ripple score. And that number is the amount of money or the percentage of money that actually stays in the destination. So this trip, every cent that you pay actually stays in that country, in that community, and benefits the people that live there. So whether you know it or not, even though you're going on this amazing holiday, an amazing trip, you're also changing lives. So just to briefly touch on the itinerary to go over very quickly. You're going to arrive in Santa Marta on day 1, and that's the kicking off point. You'll have a welcome dinner that evening with all your fellow alums. You'll meet your guide, or your CEO, as we call them, meaning Chief Experience Officer. Kindly note, Santa Marta is a really adorable seaside town. Lots to do, lots to see. So if you want to come in a day early, we can help you arrange a pre-night and any flights that you may need. So day 2, you're going to head to the lost city of Tayuna, where the trek will begin. And this is about, a 4 or 5 hour trip that you'll start. You'll be going through farmland and kind of meander your little way, through these tiny little communities where you'll have all this time to really, interact with the locals, have a great culturally immersive experience. And because this trek is kind of pretty flat, it's some uphills and some flat sections, it's pretty easy hike that first day 1. It's as we say, really easy to kind of ease into it and kick off the trek with day 1. So day 3, you're going to go deeper into the jungle. And day 3 is a very, very challenging day. You'll be trekking another 4 to 5 hours through pretty steep terrain. And in the afternoon, you'll arrive at your camp, where you will relax by the river and feel free to jump in, cool off. I'm sure everyone will want to do that at that point. And then the following morning, you're going to wake up pretty early, and you'll trek to the next camp by afternoon, and also have the opportunity to take a nice dip in the cold, refreshing rivers. Day 5, we're hoping by now you've saved your energy for the hardest day, because you're going to be making your way up the 1,200 steps to the sacred lost community. And after a bit of time there, you'll head back down and stop at one of our Planetara projects, where you'll have further interaction at one of our community-based tourism projects called Planetara, which I'll touch on a little bit later in the presentation. And on day 6, you actually head back to Machetepeo, and you will get a transport back to Santa Marta, where you'll be staying one more night before the following day, where you can depart at any time. Again, we can help arrange pre or post nights. We can help arrange flights, as well as travel insurance. We're all one-stop shopping at G Adventures. So kindly know, where we're going, there are no roads. And if there's one thing I learned about this trip, it's not the easiest of treks. It is quite challenging. So I'm going to be fully 100% transparent about what you are going to encounter on this trip. First and foremost, at G Adventures, we rate all of our trips on a 1 to 5 intensity level. This is a 5, which means it involves some pretty serious hiking. As mentioned earlier, there is 1,200 steps that lead up to the lost city. And although it's amazing when you get there, you do have to know that it's very narrow. There are areas that are very steep, and because of the humidity, slippery no matter what season you're in. If there's one takeaway that I got from my friends who had done this trek, is that it's humidity like you've never experienced ever. And just standing there doing nothing, you'll just absolutely pour sweat. So the humidity is quite intense. If you're not used to working out in humidity, or being out in humidity, you might want to test yourself first before seriously committing to this trip, because it does require a decent amount of a fitness level, where you can handle obviously the steps, the trekking, and doing all of that within excessive humidity levels. Mosquitoes, gnats, and ticks, they are out in full force. You'll want to make sure you have a very good biodegradable mosquito repellent on you because of the humidity. They are quite pesteous little things. Some of your mornings are going to be pretty early. You might have a wake up call at 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. to get the trek started. Sometimes it's a little dark when you get your start, but it's absolutely beautiful watching the sun come up as you're trekking through the jungle. So all in all, once you get once you complete it, you're looking at about 30 to 37 miles worth of trekking throughout the 5-day trek. There will be river crossings depending on the season, which quite frankly, your trip when it runs is right on that edge of that wet season. So you could be dealing with river crossings anywhere from ankle deep to thigh high water, and it could be rushing pretty quick. But because the tour is guided by not only our CEOs, your personal CEO for G Adventures, but it's also shared responsibility with the Wiwa, who is the tribe that is in the area of the Lost City, that will also assist on the trek as well. With that being said, mud is also a big thing. If it's been rainy and very wet, which again, you're kind of on that cusp there, it could be up to like knee-deep mud. So just kind of keep that in mind. Trekking poles are 100% recommended on this trip, and hiking boots are a must. Do not show up in sneakers. You will regret it. And one thing that was mentioned time and time again is that socks are your best friend, and you'll want a change of socks every time. Every day, if not 2 pairs every day. And one thing to also know is leave your expensive camera and camera equipment at home. Leave your laptops at home. The humidity is so crazy that it's been known to actually destroy iPhones. So just kind of keep that in mind if you're considering this trip. So I want to just show you some pictures and tell you what it's like along the way and during the trek. And hopefully we didn't lose anyone here and you still want to go, but let's look at some of the stuff that you'll be experiencing on the way. So along this is what a typical camp would look like. It could consist from anything from hammocks, sleeping in hammocks, to bunk beds with mosquito nets. But once you arrive at camp, everyone is required to shower before getting into the bedding, which bedding is included and provided, pillows and blankets. One tip I got from my colleagues is that just bring a sheet and you'll just want to cover up with that, that at night. No blanket. Don't leave the sleeping bag at home because it is so hot and humid. So this is what your typical camp would look like. These are your toilet and shower facilities, and they've been very noted for their cleanliness, as you can see here. And there are a couple stops sometimes along the way as you're trekking. There might be a bathroom to use. Sometimes there's not, and nature will become your bathroom, but we pack in and pack out, so be sure to bring lots of toilet paper to use. This is actually the top of the Lost City. As you can see, very on the left-hand side, hard to tell, but that's your 1,200 steps to the top, and you can see people up there, but it's a beautiful, beautiful sight to see. Awesome vistas from up top, but once you get there, boy, is that rewarding. You betcha. G Adventures is also known for its food, because how do you not travel and absolutely love the local cuisine? What to expect: rice and beans, lots of fresh fruit, some fish, very carb heavy, because you will be burning major calories. But one thing I understand is that you're not going to go hungry on this trip at all. After when you're stopping along the way for breaks, you'll have things like fresh fruit, fresh watermelon, and papayas and such along the way to keep that energy nice and high. And this is an example, an actual picture, where there's fried plantains and rice and a really yummy looking fish. So during several of the treks, the daily treks, you will have, as I mentioned, some river crossings, and sometimes when you're taking a break, you'll have the opportunity to take a dip in the river and cool off. So make sure that, when you are packing, you'll want to pack a bathing suit. And this is just one of the little pulley systems to get you across the river if it is in fact too rough, but super cool. And as you can see in the background, the gentleman in the white is part of the Wiwa tribe assisting the travelers across the river. So as I've mentioned a couple of times, I did mention the Wiwa tribe and our collaboration with them as part of our Planetara projects. And now Planetara started back in 2003 with 80, we currently have 85 projects, and it's essentially a social enterprise incubator. So we as Geoadventures go and help find communities that are not touched by tourism and help them tap into the tourism supply chain. At Planetara, we focus mainly on empowering women, creating new paths for youth, and environmental protection, as well as protecting our indigenous cultures, as it is in this case with the Wiwa community. And one of the stops that you will stop at is actually where the Wiwas, a residence of the Wiwas, where you'll be able to interact with the local Wiwa women and purchase handicrafts and wares, as well as play some soccer with the local kids. And then they also have a very big community kitchen now. This is all community-based tourism. And before really, you know, the lost city was pretty much refound again. Technically, it was never lost, according to the Wiwa, but as it was found again in the late 70s, really, this community never had any benefit from tourism or the tourism supply chain. So we're really happy to be supporting the Wiwa community as they're giving our travelers a really cool, unique indigenous or cultural experience along the way. So I wanted to obviously address the elephant in the room, which is travel in the time of COVID. Obviously, the travel industry has been flipped on its head, but wanted to talk to you a little bit about what Geoadventures is doing to make sure that when you're traveling with us, it is going to be safely and protecting you from COVID-19. So first and foremost, the ATTA, Adventure Travel Tourism Association, and their task force and their guidelines, they redeveloped the guidelines for health and safety that have been developed by the Cleveland Clinic. So we have been issued the World Travel Tourism Council Safe Stamp after they reviewed our policies, our guidelines, and our safety protocols. We got the mark of the thumbs up from both ATTA, World Travel and Tourism Council, and the Cleveland Clinic. On all Geoadventures trips, it is mandatory that masks be worn at all times. And you will sign off on that prior to starting the trip. You will have to take a COVID-19 pre-screening questionnaire prior to joining the trip. All of our guides, our CEOs, have gone through additional COVID-19 safety training and protocols. And then, of course, all aspects of our trip will be completely, stocked with extra masks if you need them, and hand sanitizer when you'll be required to sanitize by getting on and off all transport and going into restaurants, etc. So I wanted to just give you this, and this will be shared with Shannon, or Shannon will have the presentation after the fact, but you can also listen to it as it's being recorded. This is one of our blogs, Along Dusty Roads. This gentleman and his girlfriend are wanderers. They're part of our Wanderers program, which are our bloggers and influencers. So they did this trip, and they have a very thorough, unbiased opinion of the day-to-day aspects of the trip. Which are pretty exciting, as well as a really awesome, thorough packing list too. So if you decide to sign up for this trip, which I highly recommend, you should definitely check out their blog because it's so incredibly thorough. Oh. Oops. And this is the blog. And my presentation just went away. There we go. Sorry about that. All right. Okay, so you ready to go? Ready to sign up? I know I am. Call Geoadventures, our group's department, toll free at 866-925-1796, or you can email Lockett Reed, who handles all things Geoadventures groups with our university friends, at lreed@geoadventures.com, and make sure you tell her that you're with Rice University. Now we'll open up the floor for some questions, and I will stop sharing.
don't see
All
any
right.
questions in the chat, but if anyone has any, you're welcome to take yourself off of mute.
One thing I should also note too is that if you are going to sign up for the trip, you are going to be carrying your own packs. We do suggest, maybe 13, max of 13 pounds, because you do, unlike some of our other treks where we have porters, this one does not. You carry your own, and you'll be leaving, essentially, you'll be bringing a backpack on the trip and leaving your luggage behind in Santa Marta at the hotel, which we store in the hotel behind locked door and key. So, yeah. Any other questions?
If you guys think of any other questions, once we conclude, you're more than welcome to email travelingowls@rice.edu, and I will work with Jill and J Adventures and make sure that we get an answer for you. Otherwise, oh, Timothy has a question in the chat.
What is the average age of the participants? Believe it or not, we've had people that are in their 70s do the trek. As I mentioned, there is definitely you need a level of fitness to be able to compete this. I would not, like I said, we've seen people in their 70s do it and not have any problems. The one nice thing about this trek is that even though it is, like a little bit of a climb, there's no altitude mixed in there. You just have to make sure that you're really able to handle the humidity, because it's definitely, it's been one of, I can't tell you how many times they're just like, it's unbelievable humidity. So you are moving, especially 5 to 6 hours a day or 4 to 6 hours a day, sometimes longer, 7, if the conditions are a little bit rougher. So you just have to make sure that you've got the endurance to be able to to deal with that. The size of the group at G Adventures, our max group size is 16. Sometimes we can get bigger if we need to, but we think smaller is better, just because we can get you into the nooks and crannies and really kind of get you underneath the skin of the destination where all the big buses can't go. So we like to keep it small.
Any other questions? Okay, well, like I said, please email travelingowls@rice.edu if you have any other questions pop up in the meantime. Otherwise, thank you, Jill. Thank you all for joining us and spending part of your afternoon with us. And that's it for us, folks.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you on a detour soon.